Namaste and welcome. It's such a pleasure today to introduce a great creative multi-genre singer, composer, and songwriter, Sudha Kumar. Sudha has had extensive training in classical music. She has worked with reputed production house Indian Raga as a fellow on contemporary productions based on Hindustani classical music. She was also featured in the Score magazine for a reprised interpretation of the Bollywood classic Aapki Nazrone Samjha with fresh arrangements in guitars by Sudeep Ghosh. She is fluent in English, Hindi, Marathi, Tamil, and Sanskrit and can speak some Malayalam. This incredible woman is also an engineer by training. Now, recently, in her musical journey, she has released a beautiful song called Kanha. To tell us all about her life, her journey with music, and her new offering, we have with us Sudha Kumar. Welcome, Sudha, to Lokvani. Namaste.
Thank you so much, Ranjani. Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you, Sudha. And I have to say, I have been mesmerized by Kanha. Kanha, Krishna, what motivated you to create this song? And could you tell our audience a little bit about this song?
Certainly, certainly. So, actually, Kanha was an idea that was brewing in our heads for a while. I actually learned this song in a very informal way from my guru, Vidushi Aarti Ankalikarji. She was teaching a song to us basically based on Rag Bhupali. It was just like a Swaramalika, just with notations. So a lot of kids were learning it, and it was a very catchy, peppy tune.
Mhm.
And Bhupali is a rag, basically, I'm sure everybody has learned or heard in their lives.
Yeah.
And the sound is so familiar to our ears. One of the things we as music composers or students of music want to do is bring a fresh vibe to whatever we've heard before. So when I first heard Artiji's composition on Bhupali, my first thought was, this is such a fresh sound. It is based on a rag that we've heard so much, yet there is a freshness to it. So I approached her and I said, Artiji, I want to make this a song. I would like to put lyrics into it and chase this into a song. So we actually started brainstorming, and then somehow it became Kanha Karat Mujhe Sang Barjori. And how could you not explain this better than the antiques of Krishna, the elusive Krishna that always troubled Radha? So there the idea was born, and with a little brainstorming, the lyrics came through, and then basically, I took a little bit of a composition angle into it and forayed into creating the song with its swarams and all that stuff.
Right. Now, you actually made a video out of it, and I was going to ask you, how did you do this kind of a remote production? It sounds like you were all not together when you did this. Is that right? It was not like one recording sitting in a studio all together. How does this work? This whole production, process.
Actually, Kanha, the music arrangement was done remotely.
Okay.
So the first step in that happens in any original these days, this is something I would like to educate everybody with, is you first start with your idea. You come up with a draft of the tune. You come up with something basically that you voice through. So I started that whole idea. I recorded it and I sent it to my team in India. I have a music producer that I work with. So we came back with a few iterations, and I okayed how his process on the arrangement was. And finally, he arranged the song, and I recorded it in Boston. Now I have the whole song ready, but we wanted to give a story to the song. The song is in audio format, but it becomes more approachable to the audience once you have a story around it. So I thought, let me reach out to some artists. So I reached out to Deepa Jacob from Cocoon Media to create a storyline on the song. And she came up with a really good, beautiful storyline. We again brainstormed on it and hashed out a few ideas. Then I auditioned a few dancers to play the role of Radha. So my goal was that I have this protagonist, Radha. She is going to basically act out her feelings about Kanha, her Krishna. So that was the idea. And I don't want to reveal too many surprises,
Yes.
but we forayed into making a story around Radha, something unconventional, but yet keeps the listener, or the audience glued to what's happening in the story.
Yes.
So we came up with that, and then we decided to shoot it in Boston. So to answer your question whether it was remote, I have done a lot of remote productions in the past, but this one, luckily, we could have the availability of doing it all in person. So we actually sought out a location in Cambridge and one in Newburyport. So that's pretty much how the shooting happened.
Sounds complicated to take care of, coming up with an idea, from idea to final production. There's a lot of steps, it seems like, and kudos to you for making it all happen and so beautifully. Now, if people need to see it, I think we can go to YouTube and watch it. Is that the right place, or could you tell us how to watch it?
Absolutely. So I have a YouTube channel, which is posted right now on my website, and also it should be posted on all social media. So they can certainly click on that link and access the song. There should be also a QR code that we can post so that people can easily access it.
We will have that. We will have that QR code on this video so people can take a look at it as well. And I have seen it, and I know they are going. It's very interesting for me. You're saying Bhupali is an old ragam. Krishna Radha story is really old, and yet you have had a new, fresh take both on the story and on the lyrics, the song, and that I think is a testament to your talent, and of course to the greatness of this rich heritage that we come from, right? And I think so. Your musical journey, I know that it was actually rooted in classical music, even though you've done some very interesting things moving forward. So could you describe your musical journey for us?
Yeah, certainly. Like a lot of you, I do come from a Tamil family, and music is actually deeply ingrained in our lives, in our day-to-day lives. So I grew up listening to a mix of Carnatic music, a mix of Bhimsen Joshi, some Lata Mangeshkar. I grew up in Bombay, so we were just seasoned to hearing all that. And both my parents are completely into music. My mom sings. My sister is a very, very accomplished musician herself. And so I was actually inspired into music by listening to her. I'm her younger sister. And so I started getting some informal lessons from her. And after that, I joined the school choir band and joined the college band and pretty much had fun with music. It was no agenda, but just having fun and singing in, competitions or other things, other avenues.
And then you actually trained in, and then as a Tamilian, you trained in Hindustani classical, right?
That's right. Somewhere along, although I was listening so much to Carnatic music, and even now I think I can think a Carnatic alapane easily. Somewhere along the road, I was just really drawn into the way Hindustani music, just the vocal culture, the voice culture, the way they apply bhav to music. I was just very intrigued by it. Even as simple as listening to a Lata Mangeshkar alap. I used to be very interested in dissecting it. And then at some point I said, you know what, I am going to just enroll in Hindustani lessons. And I started my formal Hindustani lessons somewhere in early 2000s. And ever since I have been a student. So like at least a good 22 years I've been learning now.
Wow. And how important is that kind of a grounding, even as you're creating, new music, which is not necessarily traditional Hindustani or traditional Carnatic, right? So how does your training influence the way you're creating music today?
That's an excellent question. So one of the things I discuss with my musician friends is, as well as that music has been evolving. But just as has been evolving, we should not lose our roots. Our roots, our rich heritage comes from the rich Carnatic, Hindustani music, the beautiful music of Bollywood, all the beautiful old yesteryear musics. So I really want, in whatever productions I do, I want to incorporate ragas in a fusion element, or incorporate an old Hindi song, or any lyrics, for that matter, that reaches to the current generation.
So
So
kind of boundaryless, you're saying your music is whatever training you had, it is rooted in your classicism, but on the other hand, it just absorbs from everything that you have, experienced musically during your life. Would you say that?
I would definitely say that. I actually firmly believe that music has no boundaries, it has no language. I'm a diehard supporter of all kinds of music, anything that is pleasing to the ears. I do believe that music should sound pleasing and aesthetic, and I feel that it's divine. It connects you to the Lord and actually soothes your mind and soul. So that is the kind of music that I believe in. I know there's lots of different kinds of music, and to each what their own and what they enjoy. But my personal mission is to, really celebrate and propagate this kind of music.
That touches the soul, and I think your music certainly does that. Now, of course, but in addition to being a musician, you had a career as an engineer, and then you went on to learn vocal yoga, and you're trained and certified in that, and now you're back to being a teacher in a school. It just seems to be an incredible variety of careers that you have held. So I would like to ask you, why did you choose to learn vocal yoga? What is it, first of all? If you could tell our viewers about that, and what impact did it have on your life?
Absolutely. As a voice student, I have one of the things I've always noticed is there are days that I have voice challenges myself. There are challenges with breath. There are challenges having tension in my body, many multiple challenges that actually translate into some sort of obstruction in the way my voice is produced. So someday I was actually just browsing the internet and I chanced upon this phrase, vocal yoga. And I've always been a practitioner of yoga. I practice yoga, and I was very curious and intrigued by the word vocal yoga. So I started, looking into it and reading more about it. And what I was amazed is that it was not just, like a very mumbo jumbo kind of term. There was a lot of science to it. Being a person of science, I was very happy to see that the person who created vocal yoga, Heather Lyle, she herself is a vocalist. She's a voice scientist. She came up with this whole algorithm, or I would call it the pedagogy of vocal yoga. She incorporated voice science, voice physics, vocal anatomy, combined it with yoga, tai chi, many other vocal schools, techniques from other vocal schools, and came up with this beautiful book. So I had to, of course, buy the book. So I started reading it. And I was just absolutely mesmerized, so intrigued. Like every little piece of information she had a backing to science, had a backing to how it actually not just physiologically helps you, but just works on your entire autonomic nervous system. So it's just amazing. It's mind-boggling. So at some point I said, I'm going to certify. So I went to LA, went through a formal certification process. So I'm a trained certified vocal yoga instructor. And I have been teaching a little bit of vocal yoga in forms of workshops or private for any of my students.
It's so interesting to know that there is really ways to improve your voice, and really for those moments when there is obstacles in your, as an artist, we all know that, right? As a
Exactly.
musician, so that it's good to know there's a scientific. I had never heard the term vocalist, and now it's good to know that. So for anybody who is a musician, I think they should look it up and take a look, so that their voice is in best of its form all the time. Now you are a teacher, you're back to be in a school. I mean, this is incredible. So what made you come to become a teacher? It's the most noble profession, I would argue, but from engineer, musician to teacher, what is this part of your life bringing to you?
I think it was a calling that just automatically happened. I would say I used to, go to the school as a volunteer in the past, and then occasionally I used to, substitute for as a teacher once in a while, and I absolutely fell in love with, teaching the kids math, science, social studies, even English. It's just absolutely such a rewarding experience. The kids are they're so receptive, they're naughty, they're full of energy, all that stuff, but I just felt so alive the minute I went back to school. And I said, if there is a calling, I mean, if they are actually inviting me, in fact they wanted me to go and join them at some point, and I was so happy that there is this place which actually welcomes me. And what better way than showing, incorporating all your education and math and science, and just helping a bunch of middle schoolers. I mean, this is the best thing, I would say, for me.
Wow. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you that, when you train in math and science and engineering and all that, what you use it for doesn't necessarily mean you work for a big company. It could be actually modifying the minds of young people. I think that's the most impactful thing you can do. So kudos to you, Sudha. I was very, very taken that you decided to become a teacher. And of course, education is important to you, but also is giving back. And I have seen that you're always very actively involved as a philanthropist. I know that at ACL, you are always giving back to education. What motivates you to do that?
I'm going to say, you motivate me, all of you, everybody in our Boston community. I think it takes a village to make this happen. So ACL has pretty much, we've seen ACL as an organization grow. And one of the phrases that I remember, Kofi Annan said, literacy or education is a bridge from misery to hope. It's the bulwark that helps us transcend this, movement from poverty to prosperity. And India is that country, that's our country. So we have to give back. I mean, for me, it's my passion. I don't have any more words to say on that. And I think each of us has contributed in some way. I'm just a little drop in that ocean. That's all I am.
No, that's great. I mean, it just really inspires me to meet people like you who have such multifaceted impact on the world. I mean, it's whether it is giving back, philanthropically, whether it is giving back through your music, and now education. I mean, I think teaching in the schools is such a big, big give back that you have. So really, I want to conclude this interview asking you, there's so many people out there who have been trained as engineers and doctors and lawyers, being South Asians, that has become natural. And yet there is a hidden passion for music, dance, or something else. So what advice would you give to them to pursue those passions?
Yes, my advice would be continue with your profession. That is fine. But chalk out some time on the weekend or on a weeknight towards your passion, be it painting, art, music, whatever it is. And try to give back to it at some point. Definitely formally train in it. I think there is a lot of merit in taking any kind of formal training, be it Indian classical music or Western classical music or in art. I think it's very, very important to take any kind of formal training. So I would definitely say chalk some time towards taking that passion a little bit seriously. And then maybe it's going to give back to you at some point in time.
Beautiful. I love what you said. I think you owe it to your passion to give back some time to it. And I also value the point that you make about training in it, because it will just push you forward in a very beautiful way, and you will automatically begin to excel in what you do with that. Sudha, such a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for your time today, and we look forward to Kanha and your newer other releases that might come along as you go along. So we look forward to watching that.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you so much.